DA leader John Steenhuisen is expected to meet with President Cyril Ramaphosa this afternoon. This comes after the DA's federal executive met last night over talks ahead of the formation of the 7th administration. This took place amid seemingly no progress towards the Government of National Unity process amid disputes over cabinet posts. Negotiations saw the DA receive an offer of 6 ministerial portfolios. However, it appears that a disagreement emerged between the two parties over the trade and industry portfolio. A scathing letter to Steenhuisen, penned by President Cyril Ramaphosa, revealed that these demands would not be acceded to. Meanwhile, the nation continues to look on in anticipation of the president's announcement of his executive. This, of course, is a developing story. Well, for more on the latest developments, I'm joined in studio by SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje. Very good afternoon, Mzwa.
A very good afternoon to you, Nombo.
Good stuff. So what is your understanding around what came out of the DA FedEx meeting last night?
You remember yesterday we did speak about the very important meeting which was to decide whether the DA remains in the Government of National Unity or walks away. But obviously after that meeting, and I think the stakes are very, very high, after that meeting, the FedEx, which is the Federal Executive Committee of the DA, a body that takes decision on a day-to-day basis, decided that, you know what, given that there are some areas that they are not happy about, obviously the broadness of the agreement has been somehow accepted, but obviously there's an issue particularly around the trade and Department of Trade and Industry. So then they decided, they mandated the leader of the party to continue the discussions with the ANC and of course in particular President Ramaphosa. That's why in your intro there, Nombo, you've read that we're expecting the meeting to happen sometime later today, I think in Pretoria, where they'll try and see if there is a way of finding a compromise. Yeah.
What do you think that compromise will look like? Because it looks as though a decision has been taken by the ANC that they're not prepared to give trade and industry to them. So what would be some of the trade-offs?
It will really depend as well on the DA. Do they want to perhaps collapse the entire thing because of one department? Yes, it's quite key, it's quite important. Or in terms of the bigger picture. Remember, Nombu, one of the areas that the DA was campaigning on was to say they want to try and prevent what they termed an ANC-EFF doomsday coalition. So if then you allow this agreement to collapse because perhaps of one department. Of course, there are many other areas, but we're just singling out this department because we know it's one of the sticking points. Don't you then think part of what you were campaigning for is now going to be a possibility? I'm sure in the FedEx, that was the nature of some of the discussions to say, yes, we may not be happy with what is happening now.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is that if we walk away, that which we thought we were going to prevent may be a reality. You know why I'm saying that? Because the ANC, and in that letter where the president wrote to John Steenhuisen, made it clear to say, as much as we are meeting with you as the leader of the DA, we are meeting with other people.
Yeah.
And the final decision will be made based on the inputs of other people. So whatever we agree upon may somehow be reconsidered given the input of others. This is a Government of National Unity which comprises of 10 other political parties. Yes, the DA and the ANC may be the main ones, but those other parties are as important.
Yes. For the fact that the president has identified the 18th of July as the date when he's going to deliver the next administration's policy plans, etc., the SONA, does that then mean he's confident that this process is going to be wrapped up quite soon?
I think he made it very, very clear in that letter to John Steenhuisen to say, I need to wrap up these discussions by the end of the week. I don't see him change from that. So that's why I think this meeting that's going to be happening between himself and the leader of the DA is very, very important, because I think outside of that meeting, really, if they can't agree, so it would mean the president will go ahead without the DA. If they agree, well, all the better, I guess, for everyone else involved. But the fact of the matter, the president has made up his mind. The fact that the opening of parliament has been communicated to the nation, so clearly the will has been set in motion. It's just left to the president to now announce his executive.
Yes, yes, indeed. And as you said yesterday, at the end of the day, you know, the ANC could just proceed with a minority government and then, as you said, reach out to other parties, more substantial parties, to get that fuller government of national unity.
Oh yes, and it's continuing with the engagements of those other parties. And I mean, parties like the EFF so are in discussions with the ANC, and we understand perhaps later today as well there's likely to be a meeting between the ANC and a party like EFF, and that they've reached out as well to Umkhonto weSizwe party. So those parties, those major parties which are outside of those that have signed in terms of the statement of intent of the government of national unity. So the work of consulting just about everyone is ongoing. So clearly the president and the ANC, I think, have made up their minds to say by the end of this week, so something must happen.
Yeah.
If we don't agree as initially expected, it's fine. But South Africans need to put this to bed because there needs to be uncertainty. In fact, you even spoke about the rand. It keeps on strengthening, weakening, because it does not know what's happening. So
exactly.
I guess that certainty is very important, and I think on the mind of the president, he is very aware that he needs to put this thing to bed. So, and the fact of the matter is that South Africans voted this way. We will complain because we're human beings, but the fact that we did not give any single party the majority to govern on its own, so we were subjecting ourselves to this nature of negotiations where parties have to find themselves. So that's exactly what they are doing.
Yes.
Actually, in other countries, it takes much, much longer than what is happening here. But we are not used to this. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll also learn.
Absolutely. And of course, we'll need our leaders among the GNU to have that maturity to work together for the fulfillment of promises made to the South African people.
Yes, just perhaps before we go to closure.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to speak about the other partner in the GNU, the IFP. We understand they will give us a bit of an insight really into what is happening. It's been mainly about the ANC, the president and the DA, but we will get to understand what exactly else is happening. They will have a press conference where they will explain to South Africans what is the nature of the agreement that they have signed, and then what is it that they know, and what is the status right now. Because also they are a very key partner in KZN as well, and I think they are very interested in seeing this. The DA made it clear that if national agreement is not reached, so KZN and Gauteng will be affected. And for me, the fact that we'll be hearing from the IFP as well later today is quite key, because we will have to get a bit of insight into what exactly is happening.
Very quickly, there's a massive interest in this subject. What time are they going to be giving their briefing?
It's, I think it's about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Yes, it's about 4 o'clock this afternoon. But if there's any change, so we'll be able to communicate it as soon as possible.
Super. Thank you so much. Mzwandile Mbeje, he's our political editor here at the SABC.